Yo, what is good, dev guys? It's your boy Kane. Yes, sir. I'm back with another video. In this video, I want to introduce you guys to the most revolutionary animation tool on the face of this planet. No offense to the Maya users, no offense to the Blender users, but y'all not fucking with Houdini, all right? It's just, I'm sorry. You can't touch this, baby. So let me explain what this tool is in a brief statement, a brief little paraphrase of a statement. I am able to batch edit and batch export a large number of animations procedurally with the click of a button. This cook node function here will batch edit and batch export any animation that it finds in the file path that I feed this FilePattern node right here. So this FilePattern node, all it does is it looks for a type of file in a directory that you give it. So if I navigate to this directory, which I already have open, it's Unreal Exports, Wraith, Game, Export Anims, Wraith, and Weapon Actions. These 6 animations are now being imported into this node right here. As you can see here, we got this Fire A Fast V1 MSA retargeted, same as this, and down the line, all of these animations are the exact same as the ones in this file path. They're being imported into this node as worker tasks. Now this tops node is called a task operator. It creates tasks for Houdini to run on like iteration based. So it will iterate over all these worker tasks and do a group of node functions or a singular function for those different worker tasks. So each time another worker task gets fed from this node to this ROP FETCH node, which I need to, let me generate this node. So each time one of these workers gets sent here, this ROP FETCH node, what it looks for is a node to export out the animation once it's done doing what it needs to do, which is the batch editing. And then once it is done with the batch editing, which I'll show in the next node, it'll export it out using this node. And now let's navigate to that particular node. That particular node is this ROP FBX anim output. This outputs an animation file, no mesh, just the bone data for game engines. That's very compatible with game engines. It's also using cinematics and stuff like that. This tool is not limited to game development, but if you are in game development and you don't have this tool, I feel sorry for you. You need to look into getting a Houdini license, because this feature alone, the amount of time I'm able to save on editing and tweaking animations and batch exporting and batch retargeting animations to a skeleton, that time that I save there alone is worth the subscription fee for this. Right now, this node is being fed some animations that I've already edited. So let me go back and give it the animations before we actually, how can I say that, before we change the data already. Let me cook this node and then let me generate this node again. And now this is what the animation would look like before it's edited. So let me just walk you through the pipeline here. So this tops network, it imports all the files from this directory. And then this ROP node is waiting for this entire array, like this entire line of nodes to finish. And then it's going to export whatever comes out of that. But we also have this FBX anim import node, and this imports the animation from whatever it gets inputted into this node here. So whatever is input into this node, I also take that input and bring it into this node. And it's kind of confusing on how it works, but it's a parallel task. It's importing into this node, and it's importing the files into this node, as well as inputting those same files into this node. And this node is inputting and outputting at the same time. But before it outputs, it makes sure that all the things that need to be done are done. So this is what the animation looks like with no edits. So I added an edit to swap out the direction or the orientation of my weapon bone, which I can get into a little bit later. Basically what I did was I took the Unreal Engine skeleton, just a basic skeleton, and I added an extra bone to it, which is this weapon bone right here. And then I exported it out, did a little bit of editing to it to delete some unnecessary data. Then I exported it out as a new FBX character. And then I used that character as my now character that I want to actually edit animations on, because this character is in the same lines of skeleton layout as all the characters that are going to be in my game. We have this guy with his weapon bone so that we can attach a weapon to that weapon bone and align these animations to fit a different weapon. So if I were to change this weapon out, I would have to change the pose of the weapon bone, of course, the pose of the hands and stuff like that. But the thing is, with this system, I only have to do that once, and then all the animations that I feed through this node will also get that same updated pose, and you'll see that here in a second. So from here, we did some edits to all these different bones. We edited the upper arm, the weapon bone. We made some edits to these bones, and this is all additive. It doesn't override the already existing data in the animation. It just adds to the animation. So if I were to take this stuff away, you can see that this animation is still like that. And I don't know why it does that popping thing. It might just be because the retarget. But this animation is still like that. So if I were to add this on top, you can see that the weapon bone is now adjusted. And then if I add this other edit that I made, which changes the position of the left hand, you can see that the left hand is now closer to the weapon and holding the weapon. So basically what that tops node is going to do is feed this node a animation, and then it's going to batch export that same animation through this node here. And you can see we have the directory set up here. It goes to this $job is basically where this hip file lives. And I created this directory here to export anim source, Wraith rifle, and weapon actions. And this file name is an attribute that is accessible from this node here. It outputs a file name attribute, and you can grab that attribute inside of any other node and use it to either name something or to parse something or to filter something. But this file name just saves the name of the file that comes in from this FilePattern node. I know this is a pretty long explanation, but I gotta kind of explain this stuff before we set it up ourselves. So this is gonna be a long video. I apologize in advance. I was gonna make multiple videos, but I figured why not just do a long video and just add, like, you know, the chapters, and you can siphon through what you want to figure out. So yeah, so now all of our, well, right now we're only looking at one animation. So if we change the animation, let's change it to this one that looks a little bit different. You can see that the animation still keeps the additive edits that we made for each animation. So listen to the power of that. I made an animation edit to one animation. I made it to this first animation. I got close to the right pose here, and I kind of, you know, I'm satisfied with that, right? I made that edit to one animation, and that edit trickled down to all of the animations that is getting fed from that TOPS network. So that is powerful to be able to do the edit once and it affect literally all the animations that you have in the library. So now what we can do is we can go ahead and cook that node. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to navigate to the directory. I'm going to navigate to the directory where this node is actually cooking the data, which is, let me go back here. It's here. So it's in this directory right here. So I can navigate to that in one of my folders here. So you see here, I've already exported these animations once. I'm going to delete these because we're going to do this again. right? So now I don't have any animations in that folder, and I'm going to go ahead and cook. And let me stop the playback. I'm gonna generate, or I'm gonna dirty and cook this node. And what's going to happen is it's going to run through all those animations. It's going to take those animations through those edits. Then it's going to export them out into this folder path here. And now we have these animations here. And these animations aren't the same as the original animations that were used. These are the ones that have been edited. And to prove that, what I could do is pull one of those animations in from here, which I have set up right here. This directory is the same directory as this right here. So this FilePattern node is pulling from the directory that we just saved the edited animations to. So if I was to take this and plug it in here instead and generate this node and then generate this node again to update it, you see here now the animations look broken. It's like, I thought you edited them. Well, you got to remember that I still have these edits, and these edits are additively changing the animation that's getting fed through here. So if I were to turn these off, you can see that these animations coming through are the ones that we just edited. And you can see that it keeps all those edits additive and adds it on top of the animation. So if I wanted to bring these animations back in and further edit them, I could do that. I could add another rig pose node and maybe change the fingers or something like that. And I could change the position of the head. And then that could be a whole different animation set that I export out. Or I can just overwrite the animations that I already exported out. The possibilities for this tool is endless. So now what we're going to do is actually set it up. We're going to start from the very beginning, right? So if you're a person like me who's making a shooter game and you want to take some animations that are already existing and map them to your own game and your own weapons, you need to do a few things. So of course you need Houdini, India license. You need an India license at least to do this. An India license is only $299 for a year, or it's $269 for a year and $399 for 2 years. 2 years ago, I signed up for the $399 2-year, and I've still been using Houdini to this day, learning about it, understanding it, finding new things. I'm gonna move this to my other screen, and we're gonna start in Unreal, where we're gonna get the animations, right? I had to do a couple of steps here to get things to work, right? So in Unreal, what I did was go to the Mannequin, the Unreal Mannequin. And since all of my characters for my game are going to be based off the Unreal Engine bone structure, all I did was take this Mannequin, right click on them, asset actions, and export them. It allows you to export that out as a FBX. So I export that out, and I'll go ahead and save this somewhere. Let me call this YT for YouTube. So just so we can walk through this together. So I'm exporting this out, SK Mannequin YT, saving it to the directory where I can find it easily. And the settings I use are 2016 compatibility, advanced, nothing checked, vertex color, level of detail. I didn't export any morph targets. And for the character mesh, you want to export the preview mesh so you have a mesh to view the animations on. And then you also want to map skeletal motion to root. So this is basically like mapping the root motion to the root bone, so that if you have root motion animations in your game, the root bone will also move. It won't just move the player. So then we go ahead and hit export, and that'll save that character out as a FBX file. And then what I did was, let me open up a new Houdini project. What I did in Houdini was bring that puppy in and basically change the skeleton to what I needed it to be, which is a skeleton with a weapon bone. So right here, we're just gonna, there's a few things that I would do just to keep things organized. I would say file, new project, and I would give my project a directory to save itself in. I have a Houdini projects folder here. I'll call this YouTube Retarget, or I'll call this YouTube edit animations, or YouTube batch edit animations, right? So that's the name of this project. I'm gonna get rid of all these folders that I don't need. And I'm gonna call this export geo. And this is where I'll export my geometry. And this is where I'll export my anims. And we can call this export anim source. These will be the source animations. And then for a future tutorial, I'll have a export underscore anim mirrored, because you can batch mirror animations as well. So we'll get into that in a later video. That'll make this video like an hour, maybe 2 hours long. So I'm gonna accept right there. And now I've created a new project, and I'm gonna save this hip file to that directory so that most of my stuff is kind of organized. So let's call this yt underscore batch edit underscore 00. I like to save things incrementally in Houdini. So what I would do is create a geometry node. So drop a geo node. And in this geo node, and we can give this a name. This is our edit base skeleton. This is what we're doing in this node. We're editing the base skeleton. So what you want to do is right click, and you want to get FBX character import. And this will allow us to import a character into the SOP environment. And we're going to import that character that we just exported, the SK Mannequin YT. So you can see here, he comes in, and let me turn off the normals. You can see here, he comes in with all his LODs and stuff. So we're going to do a few things to that. For me, since this is going to be the character that I'm just doing my retargeting to, I'm not going to keep any of the LODs. So what I want to do is blast away all the LODs except for LOD 0. So we're going to keep everything but we're going to keep LOD and delete everything else. So I'm going to delete non-selected, and that is going to change my mesh to look like this at the top resolution. So that is pretty much my mesh right there. So we got that. I can drop a null node, and this is my rest geometry. Always do stuff like this so you can have some organization in your graph. So this right here is the rest skeleton. This is what the skeleton looks like in its rest pose. So basically, I'm just going to add a null here, and this is the rest skeleton. And this animated skeleton is the one that we want to edit, because this is the skeleton that's actually bound to the geometry of the bones. So this, we want to drag off of this puppy and drop a skeleton node. And the thing about Houdini is that this is procedurally generating extra bones onto an existing skeleton. You can also rig a mesh from scratch with this skeleton node, but here, since we have an incoming skeleton, we can add bones to that incoming skeleton. So what I want to do is I want to click on this hand R bone, because I know I want my weapon bone to be attached to the hand R, right? Then I want to go into the side view with spacebar 4, and I want to make a weapon bone that points forward like this, right? Now I want to go to modify, and I'm going to rename this bone to CC underscore weapon bone. That's just the naming convention that I've put inside my project. So a lot of things are referencing this CC weapon bone inside my project, so I just keep it the same. But you can call this weapon bone whatever you want, weapon bone, my weapon bone, whatever you want there. So now we've basically created our new skeleton for our new character, but we need to get rid of some data, because if you look here, if we look at the skeleton, you'll see we have a root bone for all the LODs, all the LOD group, and we have this SK Mannequin thing that's there as well. Now, the thing about this is that whenever you export this, it'll create bones. It'll create bones in this root area for those SK Mannequin LOD 1, 2, and 3. And we don't need that. So what we want to do is we want to actually delete. And actually what I'm going to do is blast. No, I won't blast. I'll delete joints here. So we're going to delete joints. And here I want to give it the parent joint of this log group. So I'll click on this and in the viewport, press enter, and it'll give me the parent of that log group. And then I want to delete the selected joints, and I also want to delete its children. So now if I were to drop a skeleton node to look at the skeleton now, you can see if I go in here, we no longer have that long ass list of different LOD groups. So now our skeleton is pretty much clean the exact way we want it. And we want to do something that is pretty straightforward, but it also has like a little bit of complexity to it. So we want to drop a ROP FBX character output node. This is going to export our mesh, our skeleton, and our animated skeleton. So basically it's going to have a mesh, a rest pose, and a bind pose, right? And this is something that we can use later on anywhere we want to in Unreal and also inside of this project at a later time. So the one thing that this thing needs, it needs the ability to have a name for all the primitives. So I need to drop a name SOP right here. So from my rest geometry, we want to operate over the primitives, and we want to take all the groups. So put an asterisk in here. That'll say all. That's basically saying like all the groups that exist. If not, we'd have to come in here and click on things separately. So on all the groups, we want to add a name called sk_mannequin. And this name is just so that Houdini could track the primitive groups, or basically the primitive groups. And then we want to pass this through the rest geometry right here. So for the rest skeleton, let's go ahead and drag this into the rest skeleton. Now you can also do this thing here to keep your graph clean. You can use the object merge, and then you can just grab the rest skeleton node, and that'll import this, whatever is coming out of this, into this node. And then you can pass it into here like this, and it'll keep whatever you want clean. You can also do that for this as well. You can put this here, and then use an object merge and grab the rest geo and then plug that into here like that, and it'll stay the same. And also for the skeleton, we want to go ahead and add a null for this as well. So let's add a null. Let's call this anim skeleton. Then we'll do another object merge, and we'll grab that anim skeleton, and we'll pass that through here. And with all of that, we're able to export this wherever we want to. And that's why I created that export geo folder. So I want to export this as my sk_mannequin and underscore WB for weapon bone. We added a weapon bone to them, and I got to put .fbx on the end. Hit accept. And now I want to change this to render the current frame, because there's no animation here. We just want to render the current frame. And now I could go ahead and save that to disk. And if we navigate to the directory of this project, export geo, now we have this mannequin here that we can use in Unreal. And this mannequin here is what we're going to retarget all of our other animations to, so that all the animations that we retarget have that weapon bone to like on it. So let's go back into Unreal and let us create a retarget rig. Let's create a retarget rig for that new rig that we just made. But first we need to import it into the project. So let me right click, new folder. This is YouTube stuff here. Sorry, this is a project that I actually used to retarget all my animations. So it's kind of filled with a bunch of stuff, but we're gonna walk through this step by step. So I'm gonna import to game YouTube stuff. What I wanna do is import the skeleton that I just edited. So let's navigate to wherever you saved it on disk. So mine's Houdini projects, and it's inside of that YouTube project, export geo. So we're gonna double click on that. Make sure to leave the skeleton blank. And we wanna go down here and make sure that all of our settings are good. You wanna use TO ×0 as reference pose. You wanna preserve smoothing groups, sorry. You wanna import the meshes bone hierarchy. We didn't have any morph targets. We deleted all the LODs, so we don't need those. Import animations, there aren't any animations, so it's fine. And you want to convert the scene, override full name, and then search location local and create new materials. And then you can go ahead and hit, and let me see it in advance. This should already be ticked by default, I believe. And after all that, you want to import all. It'll give you a little warning about smoothing groups. Houdini doesn't do smoothing groups, so disregard that. And now we have our skeleton with our weapon bone right there. So now, if we retarget animations to this skeleton, it'll have that weapon bone that we could take into our other program and edit. So you could do this same process, here, like with the TOPS network, and batch. I'm sorry, that's on my other screen. You can batch edit. You can batch retarget all your animations, but in Unreal, they have a very simple retargeting system that works pretty efficiently. So what I'm going to do is walk you through that. There's a lot of tutorials on how to get this set up, but since I'm doing this tutorial step by step all the way through, I might as well like not tell you guys to stop this video and go watch another video. I'm gonna give you the information right here. So right click, we're gonna add a IK rig, and we're gonna choose the skeleton that we just imported, which is the SK Mannequin WB. So make sure you choose the right skeleton because that's what the IK rig is going to use. So we're gonna call this IK underscore rig. I'm gonna call this YouTube YT underscore Manny. So this is the one that I just imported from this latest thing. So I'm gonna double click into this. And the first thing we wanna do is go to this pelvis bone, right click on it and set the retarget root. So this will set this pelvis bone as the root bone to retarget, like, I guess like a movement in the root bone. It'll retarget it to this pelvis bone. And now what I want to do is add some chains. And this is such a good tool because instead of what you do in Houdini, which is map point to point. So if I had two characters in here, I would select this point right here and map it to the same point on the other character in front of it. But in Unreal, you give it a chain of bones that you want to receive animation data, and then it updates the animation based off of that chain. So what we're going to do is add 15 chains. Now this is the tedious work that I hope Unreal Engine 5 makes some changes to, but for now we have to manually type all this stuff in and put this in ourselves. So here we want a chain for the head. Here we want a chain for the arm L. Here we want a chain for the arm R. We want a leg L chain. We want a leg R chain. You can see where I'm going here. So if you want to, you can pause the video or like fast forward past this. Like pause the video, do this, and then fast forward past this. So we want for the spine, or if you want to be exact, like have it exactly set up like me, it's best if you watch it. So from the spine, now I want to get the fingers. So I always start with the index underscore L. Then I go index underscore R. Then we just go down the finger chains, the middle. And you just, if you don't know these bones, I worked with these bones so much that I remember them. But you know, you got the index, you got the middle, you got the pinky, you got the ring, you got the thumb. And I don't know why the middle is, I don't know why the ring, I guess it's in ABC, like alphabetical order. So that makes sense. So yeah, so you got middle R, and you got ring. I like to put them in order of the actual finger. You know what I mean? Like index, middle, ring, pinky, thumb. So ring underscore L. We got ring underscore R. Now we're getting close. Got pinky underscore L. We got pinky underscore R. We have thumb underscore L. We have thumb underscore R. So now what we need to do is feed it the chain of bones that these chain names coincide with. So for the thumb R, we need to look up thumb. We need to give it the top bone, which is the first bone. If you look at here, the first bone in the chain is 1 and the last bone is 3. So you need the start bone is 1, the last bone is 3. So let's give it thumb 3R. Make sure you're doing this with the correct letter. Don't put thumb L on thumb R because things will look crazy. So just take your time with this and make sure you're doing it right. This is something that you don't want to rush through because you don't want to have to redo this work, or you don't want to have to figure out that basically your shit is not working because you rushed through this. So let's do pinky L3, ring, say ring R1, ring R3, ring. Whoop, you see, I just fucked up there. So let's do ring L1, ring L3, middle. Oh, I fucked up again. I'm kind of rushing because I'm recording this, but you shouldn't rush. Middle 3, let's do middle L, middle 3, index, and just keep on doing that. Keep the rhythm going. Try to create a rhythm for yourself. Try to make it fun. I know it's tedious. I've done this so many times on my stream that I've kind of fell numb to it. For spine, we want to get spine 1, and then we want to get spine 3. For leg R, we want to get thigh R. Then we want to get the foot R. So from the thigh to the foot. And the same thing for the left side, we want to get thigh L, want to get foot L. And then for the arms, we want to grab the clavicle R. We want to grab the hand R. Same thing for the left side, clavicle L and hand L. We're almost done. So for head, we want to start at the neck L1, and then we want to end at the head. And now our mapping is set up to work with any other similar mapping that has the same layout, right? So I have all these different IK rigs that have the same layout as this guy. And now what I could do is go to this IK retargeter, I'm sorry. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna make a new one. It's called it's in animation. It's called IK Retargeter, if I can get there. And right here, it asks you, where do you want to get the animations from? I want to get the animations from the Wraith rig that I created. And we didn't create the Wraith rig, but since I created the Mannequin rig with you guys, you can kind of figure out how to create the Wraith rig. And I'll show it just to, you know, so people can say, oh, you didn't do that part. So basically what I did, of course, I imported the Paragon Wraith asset into this project. You need the animations from somewhere. So you go into Heroes, Wraith, make sure everything is good here. But for me, I saved it up here so it's easily accessible. So I just right-clicked, animation, IK rig. I picked the base Wraith skeletal mesh. You can use these, but it's best to just use the base. And I did the same thing that we just did for this mannequin to that rig. So now for this IK retargeter, we're taking animations from that IK rig Wraith. And if you want to pause the video and get that set up and then come back to this step, go ahead. But for those of us who have that already, let's go ahead and say the target IK rig, the rig that we want to put these animations on, we're going to get our IK rig YouTube Manny. So now we have both of these puppies in here. If we go to chain mapping, I mean, if you haven't done this a bunch of times, the chain mapping won't be already assigned, but you can also hit auto map chains, and this will find by name. That's why the naming convention needs to be the same, and it'll line everything up. And now we basically have all of our animations ready to be retargeted. So what I would do is take these animations here, select all of them, shift select the bottom one. So what I did is select the top one, scroll all the way to the bottom, shift select. You hit this export selected animations button. This will, let me create a folder for this. I'm gonna do this in YouTube stuff, animations, and maybe I'll make another folder in here called Wraith. And now with this, when we export select animations, we can tell it where we want to save these animations, which I'll save YouTube stuff, animations, and Wraith. Hit OK. It'll do some cooking. This will take a little bit of time, so don't be too worried about it. Things are not freezing. It's just, there's a lot of animations, 234 animations being retargeted. So be patient. Okay, so once that's done, you have all these animations retargeted to that custom rig that you made in Houdini. Now the fun part begins, right? Now we're getting to the hard stuff. This was fairly easy. There's no thinking involved in this. You just kind of set everything up how it needs to be set up. But now we're going to get to the nitty gritty. So with these animations selected, I just want to make sure in here, if you go to animation, you can filter by animation sequence. We only want to export animation sequences. We don't want to export like montages or anything like that. So if we right click, we can go to asset actions and we can go to bulk export. Then we can select a directory that we want to save these animations to so that we can have that on file to give to Houdini later on. So I like to save it in Unreal Exports, and let's make a new folder in here. Let's call it YouTube. And in here, I'll make a Wraith folder. I like to keep everything organized. And in this folder is where I want to export all these animations. So I'm going to export them with the same settings minus the preview mesh. We don't need the preview mesh for the animations. Our preview mesh we've already set up with the rig that we created inside of Houdini. That's the preview mesh. So uncheck the preview mesh. Export all. It'll do some thinking. This is a pretty cool tool as well to be able to batch edit and batch export. I'm sorry, not batch edit, but batch export all those animations. So you can see it's done. If I navigate to that directory where we just exported those, Unreal Exports, YouTube, Wraith, you can see under all these folders, we have all of these animations here. These are all ready to be retargeted and edited to, not retargeted, but these are all ready to be edited by our system that we're finna set up in Houdini. So I'm gonna save this and I'm going to just save all. I'm gonna close this because we no longer need that project. And now I wanna go back to this YouTube batch and edit animations project. And let's save this. So just in case anything crashed, we don't lose any work. So here I'm gonna turn off this base skeleton. We don't need it. And now I wanna drop another geo node. And this is the node that we're actually going to edit animations in. So this is edit anims right here. For this setup, we only need a few things. So of course, if we want to visualize the animations being edited, we need to bring in the character again. So we need that FBX character import node, and we want to give it our character that we exported out here. So we can give it our character. It'll bring our character in. And now we have that character set up. Now we want to use a node that I haven't shown you called Bone Deform. This will basically show us the deformations of the animations, if any. But since we have no animations, nothing is getting deformed here. But if I were to pass in an animation here, like from that directory that we just saved all those animations to, YouTube, Wraith, here, here. If I were to pass one of these animations through, You can see if I hit play, those animations are working properly on this rig here, because this is the original rig that we retargeted all those animations to. So I am going to clear this out. We actually don't want this to be here. And what we need to do is, well, for one, you want to set up the weapon that you have to this rig. You want to bind it to this rig. So we need to do a couple of things. We need to come over here. Let's get a file node, and this is going to let us import a file into this SOP network. So I'm going to point it to wherever my weapon is saved, which I know is this base rifle. And basically now I got my base rifle here. Don't worry about how big it is, because once you bind it to the character, it will keep the same size as the character. So we want to drop a pack node. This will pack everything into like a singular geometry, kind of like compresses it. So we want to pack everything, and we don't need to do any edits on the pack node. We just want to pack. And the thing that we want to drop is a capture geometry, or capture pack geometry. Now this takes in the geometry that we want to skin to our bone, which is this node here, which takes in the skeleton. So we want to pass it this anim skeleton right here. And remember, you can also drag off of this, create a null, and then create an object merge and merge this null into that, and so that these lines don't cross. But for the sake of time, I'm just going to do it like this. So now we have this node is giving me an error, not enough size. I'm going to refresh it so that that error can go away. And now in this manual capture, we can just hit the plus. And for the capture geo, we want to give it an asterisk because we want to capture all the geo. But you can also, like, say you had different groups for this weapon that you wanted to be bound differently, you could select different groups of that weapon. But for our use case, it's only one thing here. So I'm just going to put an asterisk there to make sure everything gets selected. And the joint we want to bind this to is our, and since we can't see that right now, let me zoom in on it. We want to bind it to our weapon bone right here and hit enter. So now it's bound to our weapon bone. So whenever the weapon bone moves, this this weapon will move. We also want to merge this back into the original geometry, because right now we're not passing this geometry through to our bone deform, so we won't actually see what it looks like when it's moved. So what we need to do is merge what is coming out of this node with the original geometry. And then we pass that in here. And now if we go here, you'll see our weapon is now at a decent size. It's at the same size as the character. We'll turn off this UV thing. And I'm also going to put this in matte cap wire shaded. Okay, so now we have our character with the weapon bone all set up all properly. Now we need to set up our system that we're going to use in the top network. This right here is just, and I'm gonna put a comment box around this. This is just the display. This just displays the deformations. This is not actually going to be used at all, other than inside of Houdini to show us this is what you're doing when you edit the bones on this rig. So the node that we need for our actual pipeline is called FBX animation import. This is the node that we're going to pass in the input of that PDG that we're going to create after this. And this is going to pull the information from the PDG, the animation that it is currently on, whatever iteration it's on, is going to get passed through here. And then it's going to import that. And then we're going to make some edits to it and send it out through a node called ROP animation output. So right here, I want to add a rig pose node because we're going to be taking this animation, doing some animation edits with the rig pose node. And maybe I'll add 2 so that we can have more than one. Like maybe I'll do all the weapon posing here and all like the secondary posing here. Then I'll put this through to this ROP FETCH animation export node. And basically, we want to give this a directory right now. Let's just give it the directory that we want, which is in the job. And we want to do export anim source. And let's create a folder in here called Wraith. And just copy that directory and put that as the output XBX file. And I'll use a file name attribute when we actually create it. So now we have our system this is the system that's going to batch, edit, and export. So this is our batch, edit, and export right here. Let's color this green or something. So now what we want to do so that we can see what happens here is that we want to pass this last rig pose node to this here. So it's going to break something because of course we don't have anything. We don't have an animation coming through here. So it's like losing its mind. And as well as instead of using this to capture the geometry here, because we're we're passing this original skeleton through. We need to pass this through because now we're replacing this node. This is basically the animation skeleton. So this could act as our animation skeleton. So I'm going to take this and pipe it in over there. And now still we got this issue where things are crazy, but it's really all good. Don't worry too much about it. Once we put an animation here, so say I put an animation in here just to ease your mind. So if I go to that same file path, I put an animation here, you can see that weapon reduces its size because it now understands that there's an object in here, because without anything here, there's nothing there. Okay, so now let's set up our tops network. And what we're going to need to do is drop a tops network. And in here, it already comes with a local scheduler. We want to just go ahead and not touch that. That's what we need to. If you were doing this on a farm, you wouldn't use this. Apparently, you would use something else. But for our use case, we're doing this on our own local computer. So we will do a local scheduler. So we need a few nodes. We need FilePattern node. This FilePattern node is going to search a directory and look for the file type that you tell it. So the file type could be anything. If you wanted to batch export a bunch of videos, you can batch export a bunch of videos. If you want to batch export a bunch of geometry meshes or like static meshes, you can export a bunch of static meshes. It's all up to you in the file path. So we need to set up a couple of settings on this node. We need to include the extension in the file name attribute because this will basically give us the .fbx or whatever the file type is in the file name attribute, which we're going to use whenever we tell our tops network or our PDG to save our asset somewhere. We're going to use this file name attribute. So we want to do files only, and then we want to pass it a directory here. I'm going to navigate to the directory where we saved all those animations, right? So the one thing that I didn't do that I did different in my own project is I organized all of these animations by category so that I could filter out what I want. So let's do that right now. Let's go to that file path, which I think is, yep, here. Let's make a folder for just abilities. Let's make a folder for locomotion, or what I call movement. Let's do weapon actions, and let's do miscellaneous like that. So basically anything like idle, AO, like aim offset, start from idle aim offset all the way down to jump start retargeted. And then let's cut and navigate to this movement folder and paste those inside of here so that we can give it a better directory if we kind of organize our animations by category. So let's get all the ability animations. We got ability. We also have these, we got this idle ability here as well. So I'm going to cut those, or Control X, and then I'm going to go to abilities and Control V and paste those all in there. So now you can see we're reducing the amount of things in our base folder. I also made I think I made a deaths folder as well to put all these deaths in. No, I made I think it was called reactions or something like that. And I think I did make a death folder too. So that's fine. So we'll take these deaths, we'll move it into the death folder. This is the weapon action. So we got the fire actions here. Let's make sure we don't have any other fire actions or weapon actions. So I'll drag those into there. And this hit reaction and stuff like that, knockback, all that stuff, we'll put that into the reactions folder. Then I think I made a folder for emotes or something like that. So I'm gonna grab all these emotes and basically anything that seems like it would be an emote, like the level start animation. Where is it? This could be like an emote. I'll put that in the emotes folder. And we've got a few more locomotion folders, locomotion or movement animation. So I'm gonna grab all these turning places in the travel mode. I'm gonna move that into movement because that's actually moving. Victory pose, emotes, and ring spin retargeted. A lot of this stuff, I don't know exactly what it is. So that's what the miscellaneous folder is for. So now we have a little bit better organization of our folders here. So now when we go back into our project and give our file pattern a directory, we can actually give it a single folder out of that instead of the entire folder. And now we know, okay, if we want to work on abilities, we can pass it abilities. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm just going to do the same thing, weapon actions. I'm going to double click up here. I'm going to copy this file path. I'm going to paste it in here, and then you put a star.fbx. And this will search for this basically tells us to search for anything with .fbx at the end. So now if I generate this node, you'll see we get those 6 animations that I showed in the beginning of this tutorial. So now we have this bad boy set up. There's also a good node to use. You can use filter by range, and say I pass this node, instead of weapon actions, I passed it movement, right? Then I generated this node, and you see with movement, we got a shit ton of more animations. So this filter by range allows you to say, okay, I only want to do from 0 to 5. So I only want to do 6 animations. And then if I generate, this node, we'll only cook. Whoa. Okay, we want to keep items. We want to filter by work item frame, and then we want to remove items, or we want to keep items in filter range. Let me double check that. Okay, yeah, instead we want to do work item index here. So now if I generate this node, it'll only get the index of 0 through 5 in this file pattern node. So now we're only working with 6 here, but originally we have this many. And we can also bypass this node and then use use this as like a test option. So before we basically run through all our animations, we want to make sure that what we're doing works on at least 6 of our animations. If it works on 6, it'll work on all of them, basically. That's the thought process there. So the last node we need for this is a ROP FETCH node. Now this ROP FETCH node is looking for a node to pass off all of these export files to. So we're going to give it, if we click on this, we can navigate to our edit base skeleton. Nope, that's not it. Our edit anim geography node. And we want to give it that ROP FBX anim output node here. And for our we want to do ROP node parameters for the output pass. And for this output parm name, we probably don't have to change this since this ROP node is built into built into Houdini. But if you hover over this output FBX little, it's like a button here, but it's really just like the parameter. You can see that the parameter is called output file path. I hope you can see that in the recording. So basically that's what we want to put in this output parm, output file path, so that it'll know, like say we had multiple nodes inside of the same network, we would give it like 1 or 2, and it'll know this is the node I need to export my shit out to. So with that, we pretty much have everything set up. So for this evaluate using, you want to evaluate using the ROP node configuration. So basically what that means is we're going to use whatever is coming through this node here. So if we're exporting using the clip info detail attribute, which basically just exports out the entire clip perfectly as its time frames, has its it has its sample rate, has all that stuff already cooked into an attribute, and then it uses this attribute to kind of organize the animation here. So we're telling this top network to just go ahead and do things as they would be done in the ROP node that we passed you. I'm going to change this back to weapon actions so that we could not have a bunch of animations that we're working with here. And then whenever you change this file path, you need to regenerate this node so that it updates. And then we're going to generate this node. So this will now put the information from this node into this node. And with that, we can use the information from that node as our FBX file input. So the way that you do this is the little tilde, you know, the tilde key that you would hit in Unreal to bring up the console. That same key, whatever this little apostrophe thing is, I don't know what it's called actually, but you hit that key and you type in, type in @pdg underscore input. And this will get the input of whatever is coming through the output node of this PDG graph. So since this is the last node, this is technically what is being output. So it'll get whatever is getting input into this node and taking it and bringing it here as our file. So now you can see we're able to bring our animations in and cycle through them. You can see everything is moving. If I hit play, you can see all the animations working. And now we get into the whole edit thing. So I'll probably time lapse through this because this is pretty tedious. And you pretty much will set up your edit how you think your weapon should be held in the hands. So for me, let me go back to flat shaded here. Well, let's go to smooth shaded. For me, you know, I want to make sure that my weapon looks believable in the hands. That's all it really is. And then in Unreal, we can do like a procedural IK to make things look perfect. You know what I mean? So let's get this bad boy into the hand area. You know what I mean? Look believable. So, and there's also, you know, this is not the only way to do this. You can also do some more advanced stuff inside of here. And that's something that I will be doing on my own time. It's pretty much too much to set up for this particular tutorial. But for our purposes, let's just say maybe this pose is good, right? This pose is good. We got our weapon in the place that we want it. And And maybe we want to edit the left arm to kind of, you know, at least get close to the weapon or something. Since I'm working at FK, it's a little bit more tedious, but like I said, you can do more advanced things like create an IK rig and use that IK rig to animate or to edit your poses, which will be a lot easier than FK for like posing a weapon and shit. But let's just say that's good. That's the pose we like. It looks good. Looks like he's holding the gun securely. That's what we like there. So now we're pretty much ready to go. We're pretty much ready to tell this thing, hey, let's export our animations out. But first, what we need to do is tell it how to organize everything. So of course we have this folder here, this export anim folder, and we created a Wraith folder in there. We can also create a new folder for just this particular weapon, because you might want to use these animations for a sniper rifle. You might want to use these animations for a pistol. And so you want to organize things as you need them, basically. So let me fucking, I kind of messed up there. Let me copy this and plug it in here. And now we want to say, maybe we want to put this into our same kind of name and structure that we were using for the organization of the original animation. So we want to say weapon actions and give it another. And you can also create folders like this too. You don't have to go in and create a new folder. I just want to show you that you can do it that way too. But you do weapon actions. And now what we want to do is give it the file name parameter. So you use that same little tilde key symbol. You hit at and you want to go file name. And this will find the file name parameter that is being used or being exported out of this ROP FETCH node. So if I double click here, the file name parameter is called fireafast retargeted.fbx. And you see here it's got the .fbx. If we were to turn off that include extension in file name attribute, let's regenerate this. So now you can see our file name doesn't have the .fbx. So that means we would have to manually add .fbx here. But that also gives us the opportunity to say underscore something, underscore edited, you know what I mean, .fbx. And now we have a more, how can I say, more custom name set. But for us, and for our use case, all I'm going to do is just, you know, go ahead and give the file extension in the file name attribute. Now what we can do is right click, dirty, and cook this node. And now what it is doing is navigating to this file path here, and it's saving out all these animations as we want them to save. So now you can see here we got all of our animations set up. And remember from the beginning of the video, to double check, all you would need to do is create another FilePattern node. So I'll alt drag on this one. And instead of passing it this, I'd pass it the job. I'll pass it basically the directory of where all of our animations that we just edited are. So and then I just paste that in right here. So now if we plug this in to this network and generate this node and then regenerate this node, you'll see once we double click here, hold on, something's wrong. Weapon actions.fbx. Let me see here. Oh yeah, we don't have this node turned on. I'm sorry. So if we turn this node on, you can see if we select through these different animations that we can see them kind of changing, but you know, of course they look broken because they are also putting this extra stuff on top. So let's turn that off. What I did there was highlight those and hit the bypass. And now you see here, if I cycle through these, and let's press play so they actually show. If I cycle through these puppies, you'll see that they are all holding that pose that we gave it and working accordingly. So you can get really deep with this, man. You can put through, like I said, you can make an edit to one pose for the weapon and then fucking give this the directory of all your animations and just have all your animations be edited with that pose. And now you've retargeted an entire set of animations for that weapon. And now when you bring those into Unreal, you can attach your weapon to this animation, or you can attach the weapon to your character using that bone, and everything will line up perfectly. You don't have to tweak a socket in Unreal. You don't have to fucking work hard or anything like that. You just automate the process in Houdini. So yeah, that's pretty much all I got for you guys. I'm sorry that this took so long, but this is a lot of information. This is a huge tool to add to your toolbox, man. If you don't have Houdini, think about getting Houdini, man. Definitely one of the best tools I have in my toolbox. So yeah, if you like videos like this, leave a like, leave a subscribe. Let me know something in the comments. If you have any questions, please jump into the Discord channel and type in. So I'll make a Houdini chat just for Houdini stuff. If you got any Houdini questions, just jump into Discord, ask your questions in that Houdini channel. Make sure to ping me or tag me, and I'll try to help you as best as I can. But yeah, that's all I got for you guys. I appreciate you for watching. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.